Hi everybody, so literally I'm going to show you how I manage my leads, what I do, and the process that I sort of take. Because when you're when you're actually connecting with people and people are inboxing you, or um, depending on if you've used the pull or the push method, which I talk about in the Traffic Accelerator program in more detail. But what we actually need to do is we need to be storing these leads somewhere. Because if we're not storing our leads somewhere, then how do we know who we contacted? We could go back through our Facebook, but then, we don't really know if someone is an urgent, follow up, or if, we should follow up with somebody later. You're going to have all this mess. It's not a way to be organized. And I will say, because of my follow up strategy has increased my sales drastically because I have a proper follow up strategy. If you don't have a follow up strategy, you're in that sort of danger of missing leads, and it's not very productive. It's not a great way to work. And if you're just going to be really sort of like ditzy about it and not really bothered, then chances are you're probably not going to get the best results from this. And if you think of it a bit like if you were running Facebook ads, in Facebook ads, they teach you a technique called retargeting. So you retarget the people that have already looked at or engaged with an ad of yours. So if you're going to use exactly the same strategy as that, but not pay for ads, we need to have a strategy which is a follow-up strategy. So I use 2 or 3 different sort of tools depending on what I'm doing. So let me see if I can actually remember my login. Oh no, it's not this one. No. So what happens when you have so many? Okay. So this is mine on my partner's board, so some of these things might not be of interest, but here we go. So what I do on Trello is where I store all of my messages that I am going to send to my prospects. And all of my objections are in there as well. So what this means is then when my virtual assistant, is called Steph, when my virtual assistant is sending messages, what she needs to be able to do is she needs to be able to just come in here, and rather than typing everything out from scratch, she can just sort of like copy and paste. But what she does in the first message or two is we add bits in to kind of build that sort of rapport with the prospect. So I use Trello for storage, basically. And I bookmark where we're up to in terms of what page we're on. So I might do a search on LinkedIn. I might search for marketing managers or people in the travel sector, and then I filter down, do an advanced search. I might be shown then, say, 500 people, and I'm going to connect with 50 of them each day. There might be 500,000 people, and then we connect down that list. And obviously the next day when I go, I might be on page 10. So I bookmark that page and save that page, because I don't want to have to click at the bottom, page 1, page 2, page 3. I just bookmark the page, we save it, and then we know where to go to the next day, and we just continue and continue and continue. And then I figured out with this particular strategy alone, I would have enough leads for the next 5 years. However, then what we can do, because 5 years will have passed, we can go back to the start. But what you have to remember with this, 5 years might seem like a long time, but it's actually not in the grand scheme of things. And I speak about this quite a lot in the Facebook group. What we don't want to do is we don't want to burn any bridges. We need to get this absolutely spot on, so you can survive on this platform, not just for 5 years, but for the next 15, 20, 30 years. We don't know where LinkedIn's going to go and what's going to happen to it in the future, but we need to ensure that what we're doing now is almost evergreen. And we don't want to kind of realize that we've absolutely made a whole shamble to the first 2,000 people that we can never actually go back. Because from a lot of research that I've done, the chances of getting a second chance with this is just so small. You know what it's like if you've been to a restaurant for the first time and the food is horrible, the waitress is just really rude to you. What are the chances that you're going to go back? There's a very small percentage that you may return, but there's an even bigger chance that you won't. And you have to look at it that your prospects are exactly the same as this. So I use Trello for my Facebook messages, LinkedIn messages, just so I've got like a bit of a baseline with having to write everything out. And then I put any objections in there. And what I do, the more objections that I find, I add them into this platform. And then we can discuss. I can discuss it with my virtual assistant. You can discuss it with your team. Why are we getting these objections? What can we do to eliminate these objections? Can we add more of this information into the pitch so it breaks down those negative beliefs around your product and so forth? So I use Trello as my storage base, I guess, if you will. And then I have a couple of other different things. So if I'm making some quick leads on Facebook to do with like LinkedIn or my sales funnel or Facebook or anything like that, sometimes the leads come in a really like vast amount on Facebook. So I actually find that send 50 odd leads per day, is a minimum of what I get on Facebook. What I don't want to be doing is, using a platform that's quite complex and time consuming to add all those people's details in. So because of that, I use Wunderlist. This is called Wunderlist, and literally you can just add lists. So if somebody on Facebook that I chat to, so John Jones, this is just an example, I put them in there. And then what I can do in here, I can set reminders to chat to them. I can add just a few bullet points of what we spoke about to remind them. And then what I do, which is like really good, is I do that if I feel like they're a bit of a hot prospect, if I feel like, this person might buy from me. And then what you can do here is you can then make sure those ones are your priority. Now, however, on LinkedIn, for my LinkedIn prospects, I like to use a platform called Zoho. Zoho is a great platform. It's free and you can add more details into it. And because I only get 15 to 20, but they're more high ticket items on LinkedIn, then I add them into here. And because you're connecting with so many people on LinkedIn, because you're doing the reach out method on LinkedIn, what I find is things would just get completely lost if I didn't have some sort of strategy to follow up. So I have all of my leads in here, all the contact details, you can follow up with them, and it's a really, really, really great tool to sort of use because you can also set reminders. You can see how many deals you've done, that type of stuff. So I don't put any like costings or anything into here. I literally just use it for storing information. And what's really great about this as well that I like is that you can connect with, and it finds the person's Twitter account as well if they're on Twitter, which means then I can also, when I'm following up, if I don't get a follow-up message on their email, I can tweet them at the same time. So I'm kind of like coming at them from all different angles. And there is always that balance with a follow-up strategy of being too much, but then not doing enough. So you need to find that right balance for you. I usually say between 3 to 7 days, depending on the situation and the person. So if somebody actually wants me to follow up in 2 days' time, I follow up in 2 days. But if I don't hear from them, but I think it's like hot off the press and it's really, really going to happen quickly, they need somebody quite urgently to assist them, I might do a three-day follow-up. If they're a little bit more laid back and they don't really know what they're up to, they need a few days to sort things out, I might do a 7-day follow-up. I don't think I'd leave it any longer than 7 days unless they've actually told me, can you please leave it till, this particular date? So this is how I organize leads. You really need to have a follow-up strategy if you're not going to use ads, because remember, ads, we have a retargeting strategy that does it automatically for you, but because you're doing it more manually, you would need to input this. So obviously Wunderlist for me, it takes 5 seconds to enter somebody's name. It's really quick, it's really easy to use. This LinkedIn storage sort of message space, obviously the time to set it up takes a few hours, but once you've done that, you can add to it, you can amend it, all that type of stuff. We're constantly refining the strategy as well. And then on Zoho, I would say it takes a couple of minutes per lead. It does take a little bit longer on Zoho, but if you remember, you're only getting a much smaller amount of leads. I spend no more than really 30 minutes on Zoho per day. Adding information in, and I might spend 30 minutes actually doing the strategy and following the formula on LinkedIn. So it's an hour of your day to literally not have to spend any money on ads. But once you actually get it and it's working properly, you can then hire somebody to actually do that job for you just for an hour a day, or you can continue to do it yourself. Absolutely fine. And if you've got a product which brings you passive income, like an online course or something like that, then all your time can be spent developing content, building relationships with prospects, or spending time with your family. It's entirely up to you.